If you've got an income that's $80,000 or $100,000 and you've gotten a $2 million pot of cash up here, you shouldn't invest like you've earned it, because when you've earned $2 million, obviously the way that you invest is very different to if you earn $80,000. I wouldn't go and say, hey, what's the most amount of property I can go and buy in trust if you're just an everyday person earning everyday income, because you could essentially leverage this 2 mil. Let's assume that you chopped it up into 6 300K chunks of cash. What you could then do, if you wanted to take an extreme amount of risk, is like, yeah, you could go and put these properties in your entities or whatever it is. This 300 grand would go get you into like $1 million property at, like a 75% loan to value ratio. Every single one of these then goes down to $1 mil. So now you've got $6 million worth of assets, and you've essentially leveraged your 2 million by 3x. And on a good day, they're all paying for themselves because they got good yields and blah, blah, blah. That sounds amazing until something goes wrong, because then you have $6 million worth of liability when you can't actually afford to have $6 million worth of liability because you didn't earn this money. You were given this money. Let's assume this property didn't have tenants for a period of time. This property fucking some storm happened. Even though there is a way that you can get this amount of exposure, it doesn't mean you should. So I wouldn't ask the question like, how can I turn that 6 million into the most amount of debt? I would personally look at it to go, well, if I got 2 mil, how do I allow this 2 mil to continue to grow in the market and actually give me some income so I can have a good life? So I'd probably leverage that 2 mil into a $4 million commercial asset. Now, if you're on 80 grand a year, you're not getting $2 million worth of debt to put with the $2 million worth of cash. So I would do this through something called a lease stock facility. Essentially, the way that works is you would buy it within an entity, say it's a company structure, and the bank would just simply look at the rental income that asset is providing. Obviously, it needs to have the right lease in place. It needs to have the right length of lease in place and all that jazz, but I'm assuming all that stuff is right. A lease stock facility, they'd give me the 2 mil based on the $4 million asset producing, say, a 6% yield. I'd now have a $4 million asset. Let's say it's a 6% yield or just over a 6% yield. I'd be getting $250K a year in income. But remember, I've got a $2 million mortgage on that property. So that'd be costing me 120 grand a year. Let's assume that the tenant pays all of the outgoings and my only outgoings is interest. That would net me 130. And I could do one of two things with that 130. I could pull that 130 out, or I could use that 130 to decrease the debt further on this $4 million asset. And every 130 I pay off it obviously produces more asset, and eventually it would be debt free. And this whole 250 then becomes my income. This extreme high risk, probably not ideal. If you haven't earned the 2 million, don't invest like you've earned the 2 million. This is a little bit less risky. Obviously, you're still carrying $2 million worth of debt, but there's actual products out there called lease stock loans where they allow you to do that. And it gives you income. You've got less tenant risk. Not a huge amount that can go wrong. So that's what I do. And then look, what you also could do is just go buy something unencumbered for $2 million, earn you 6%. It's fucking 120 grand a year, and Bob's your uncle, Mort is your aunt.